Hello there, and welcome along to Series 4 and Episode 3 of the Gardener Ben podcast, which is brought to you proudly in association with Peterbilt's Roses, winner of 30 Chelsea Gold medals and creating timeless roses since 1968. Go online and shop at www.peterbiltsroses.com. Right, we are literally just going to sit for a second and take a breath. Well, what a week it has been. May is absolute madness in the garden. As you will all know, you often find there's not enough time to get absolutely everything you want to do in, and you're chasing the light levels as the days start to fade. But this week has been one of those weeks. I have been here, there and quite literally everywhere. Kicking off the gardening show season with BBC Gardeners World Live at Bewley. My husband Mark and I had the privilege of heading over there last Friday afternoon for a look around the show and to look at some beautiful design concepts, some beautiful borders and some beautiful exhibits. We had a really, really lovely time and bumped into several friends of the podcast, including Vicky from New Forest Hosters, who I got to have a little bit of a catch up with. I also then bumped into Vicky once again at the RHS Malvern Spring Fair, where she was also exhibiting. We spent an absolute wonderful day wandering around the show, marvelling at all the wonderful exhibits. It's the first time I've ever made the trip up to actually see the RHS Malvern Spring Show, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's well worth a visit. So if you didn't get a chance to visit it this year, make sure that you pencil it into the diary for next season, as it's well worth a look. Not only are there some beautiful garden design concepts, some floral displays, but there's also plenty to buy. And for myself, there's also lots and lots of houseplants and other things to get involved with. So a really beautiful day out for absolutely everybody. This week, I also had the pleasure in announcing that I will be opening the garden here at North Lodge to the public over 3 days. After a little bit of time spent wandering around the garden with a glass of wine on Saturday evening, my husband Mark and I agreed that the garden looks far, far too good not to share it with just as many people as possible. We normally open the gates to the public every other year, but being involved with currently having the book photographed here in the garden, we had decided maybe that wasn't such a good idea. However, we've had a little bit of a change of heart, so I have the pleasure in announcing that the garden will be open to the public over 3 days. Firstly, on Friday the 29th of May, between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m, and then again over the weekend of Saturday and Sunday the 30th and 31st of May, between the hours of 10 and 4. There are, however, things that I simply don't have time to do, and baking dozens and dozens of cakes is one of those things. So we've asked the little mobile coffee company to come along and provide teas and coffees, pastries and cakes to paying visitors while they walk around the garden. So please do make sure that you bring a few pennies. We look forward to welcoming just as many of you to the garden as at all possible, and I, of course, will be on hand to answer as many of your questions as I can. Entrance is charged at just £3 per person. Under 12s and dogs go free, and of course are more than welcome. Groups and family groups of 4 or more are charged at just £10 per group of 4. With all gate proceeds being split equally between Bright Horizons Foundation for Children and Cherry Tree and Chestnut Nurseries in Bournemouth, which you may remember were actually the subject of last week's podcast episode. This week, I have the absolute pleasure in bringing you a conversation I recorded with Neil Duncan, who uses the tag on Instagram Neil Duncan 40 Rose King. Neil is actually a rose grower and exhibitor who has won multiple awards up and down the full length of the country. He's an incredibly talented rose grower, and I was looking forward to sharing with you the conversation that we had several weeks ago, as I know many of you are incredibly interested in exhibiting the blooms that you grow in your garden. So I really hope that you enjoy the conversation that follows. Well, today on the Gardener Ben podcast, I'm joined by Neil Duncan. Neil, welcome along to the podcast. How are you today?
Hello, Ben. Very well, thank you.
Jolly good. Now, Neil, now I know exactly what you do, and I often start my conversations on the podcast exactly the same as this. I know what you do because I follow along on Instagram where you share lots of wonderful things. But would you like to tell the audience what it is that you're sharing online?
Basically, I'm a rose exhibitor and have been doing that for over 20 years now.
Wow. Okay.
Go
Now,
around the summer showing all over the place.
Now, this is quite the hobby for yourself, isn't it? This involves an awful lot of plants and an awful lot of travelling and an awful lot of preparation and yeah, and an awful lot of blooms. How you say you've been doing it for 20 years, but how did you initially get into showing roses? Was it something that you came to naturally, or?
A bit of a long one that. I'd say it is natural.
Hmm.
The path to getting there was different. I've had no horticultural experience. Left school to go and work in a racing stables. My first job didn't quite work out, and then I moved to a village just outside Whitney called Loo,
Hmm.
and I worked for a man called Captain Radcliffe, and we broke horses in there. And when we had our quiet days, he basically owned the village, so he lived in the big manor house, and it had rose beds and rose garden and vegetable garden, etc., etc. And so we ended up doing the gardening. When I left there, I moved to where I live now, a village called Fifield, and worked for a racehorse trainer. And I met my wife here, and we built a house. And in my time here, early on, I met a friend, like most of us, who was showing flowers, and I got given some tulips from a Ukrainian yardman. His father bred tulips in the Ukraine,
Hmm.
and my mate came along and he went, "Oh, we'll show them in the local village show," and so I dipped straight into showing that way.
Yeah.
I'd worked in a when I was uh, still at school. I'd worked in a showing stud, horse stud. So I've always been interested in that kind of atmosphere,
Hmm.
and so I got going with him. And then when the summer came, I had a few rose bushes, two or three, nothing exciting. I showed them, and then that snowballed massively into me and him becoming great friends. And he said to me, "Oh, if we're gonna get into this, you can come to some of the shows with me." He lent me a piece of his allotment, and so I started showing with Bill.
Okay.
Um,
And
and
it's gone on from there.
it's got it's gone on from there.
I was
Yeah.
just going to say, because how many rose bushes are we talking about? Because I saw you share something just at the weekend about the size and dimensions of your beds, and the fact that they were fairly well mounded now because you've been mulching really heavily.
Mulching
How
heavily.
how many
Yeah.
how many roses are we talking about?
I'm up to 1,000 odd.
Good
Uh,
Lord.
it culminates because it's never ending, is it? You bud a few, you dig a few out, you get given some bits and bobs and whatever else, and you go like that. But generally, we're up about 1,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got
Wow.
three allotments.
Great.
I
Okay, so
grow.
three, just so that the listening public can kind of get a bit of a scale. So they're normal size allotments. You got three of those, and they're all full of roses.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I do grow palms, dahlias, but
Yes.
again for
Okay.
show. I'm a soul. I came into it um, showing for growing rather than growing for showing,
Hmm.
if we could put it like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my interest in growing, I look at it like a sport. So growing is training and competition is competition.
Yeah.
You can't do one without the other.
No.
So the two things combine. But I've got it's quite a big area really. I've got
And
probably
your allotments are all together, or they're dotted around one site, or?
I've got the original side that Bill gave me, which has
Hmm.
got about 250 bushes on it. It's
Yeah.
got two raised beds and a greenhouse. And the other side, which is, I don't know, probably 60, 90 yards the other way, that's got probably 15 beds on,
Hmm.
and a muck heap.
All important muck heap. Yeah.
The muck heap, very important. The muck heap, and again, when I don't work in racing anymore, but when I worked in racing, um, the when the boss went on holiday, me and the tractor man would be filling it up. It was like Kilimanjaro. I always say,
Squirreling
I
away
get
the muck.
15 loads in, and I could have stuck a flag on if I had that much. But nowadays it's a bit trickier to get hold of good manure, so you have to. I take what I can get really.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
And
I
out,
grow a lot of bushes. Yeah.
and out of the 1,000 variety, and out of the 1,000 bushes you've got, have you any idea how many varieties that you're growing?
I'm round about 52 varieties of hybrid tea,
Okay.
and then top end of 30 floribundas,
Hmm.
and then I've got miniatures and mini floras, and I'd probably around 30 to 40 varieties of them as well.
This is a substantial collection. It really is. So you must be quite you must be quite notorious on your allotment. You must be, but yeah, everybody must know exactly who you are.
Uh, well, it's funny, like all things, things are gaining traction, so to speak. I ended up on Gardener's World last year,
Hmm.
talking to you and vice versa, and that. But showing's a little bit under the radar still,
Yeah.
and so although locally quite a few people know who I am, I suppose, or actually maybe I know more people around the country than I do locally that know I'm
Yes.
doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The allotment site's quite secluded,
Yeah.
and so there are people that know, but yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I know you did mention a second ago. Just to clarify, what's your geographical location? You don't have to give it exactly, but what
No,
county are
no,
you in?
it's fine. I live just outside Andover. I
Okay.
live in a village called Fifield, and my allotment's in a village called Appleshaw,
Okay. So
which is.
you're not a million miles from me at all. Then you're only about sort of 30 miles from me in Fordingbridge.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's
And
a small
so
world, isn't it? Always.
it is indeed.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest questions I get asked, obviously, you're growing to show or showing to grow, whichever way around you want to put it at whatever time. But one of the biggest questions I get asked, and I get asked this a lot doing what I do, and I'm not entirely sure you completely know what I do, but I obviously review roses, and I've been doing so for, I don't know, 6 years. I've reviewed hundreds and hundreds of roses online. That's what I'm known for. I also review peonies. But one of the biggest questions I get when I open my platform, people to questions as I do every week, is how you get plants ready for a certain time of year. Now, this is obviously something that you're going to be well rehearsed at, and many of my fellows will say, "Oh, Ben, I've got a wedding coming up," or I said I'd grow flowers for a christening or a birthday. And they're always asking me how they go about preparing plants. So again, is it possible for you to talk us through a little bit? I mean, when you come to show season, do you know what shows you're going to do, or do you just have to gauge what roses you have when you have them, or what you can enter when you can? Or
Well, exactly. Well, actually, it's every single thing you just said.
okay,
The last, I have a general growing system. Normally, I would have pruned this weekend just gone.
yeah, I did see on that online. Yeah.
The last two summers, it's been extremely hot where I live. We have
Hmm.
quite varying temperatures through the winter to the spring,
Yeah.
and so the general bushes have come out too early. They've missed the shows by a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That was unheard of for sort of 15, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That never happened. So this year I'm pushing my pruning forward 2 weeks. So I probably won't prune till the end of March, which is madly later than everybody,
Yeah.
all of the nurseries everyone talk about. But
Well,
it
again,
makes
I've
no
got,
but it
and
makes no
again, of course,
difference whatsoever.
everything is I mean, I was out in the garden today, and I've got stuff with 6 inches worth of growth on it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's obscene. Hope fingers
yeah.
crossed we don't have a frost now, otherwise everything's going to go black and a bit horrible. But
Well, that again, I mean, I can get terrible frosts
mhm.
where I live, and wipe the lot out, and I actually have to prune again. And
Okay.
it would stagger people to realise that on occasions I've had to put sticks into the ground so I don't stand on the bush, but I've had to scrape the mulch away
Because you've pruned it
and
that
look
low.
for something underground
Yeah.
that's a material that can grow again. And by God, the roses come back as strong as ever. It's
Yes. Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
But we know that from grafting, etc., that those buds come from way down. And if you're growing hybrid teas and floribundas, they will come back from down there.
Yes. Yeah.
And then so getting ready for shows is quite a long area of conversation because I'll prune, I'll feed, I'll mulch. I do put certain sprays on,
Hmm.
and then I'm looking realistically for them to flower probably the early June, second weekend in June.
Yes, yeah.
Probably. You're going to get your few first blooms are going to be rough, so you don't mind losing those.
No.
And then
Again, it's something in the beginning of June. I always get completely inundated. I get absolutely drowned with messages on every platform because I operate across all four major platforms. I get sent hundreds of pictures at the beginning of June saying, "Oh, this one is small, or it's slightly deformed, or it hasn't opened properly." It's just the hormones raging forward. Calm down, cut it off,
yeah,
deadhead it. Let the hormones come through. Let the season actually start, and they'll grow themselves out, which they always do. And then, of
yes,
course, everybody panics. I've got horrible, nasty rose disease. So I'm going to dig it up and burn it. It's like, oh, no, calm down. Yeah, there's
Well,
nothing
that's
wrong
it.
with it.
You get blind shoots, don't you? And
Yeah, yeah.
the amazing thing with roses are they don't just you can't you want to you can grow them and leave them to do whatever they want. That's
Hmm.
not what I'm looking for. I want a product.
Yes, yeah,
It's a different type of gardening and growing really.
yeah.
I want to crop off them. So I have some years I have monkjack come in, they'll take all the fresh buds off. So I've got
Oh,
to try and
Lord.
stop them.
Yeah.
There's millions of not millions, but there's plenty of things trying to hurdles to get over before you can get into where the showing starts.
Yeah.
And so again, through that, so all I'm really doing through April and May and June is looking at them, pruning out things I don't like the look of, like you say, a little bit of disease, pick that off, studying them really, and then disbudding comes into it, and disbudding is where for a hybrid tea you want a single bloom.
So
Obviously,
very much like a dahlia. You're removing
yes, yeah, you're taking the
removing
side buds out
side buds out to focus your attention on a large single flower.
on
Yeah.
the one bud at the top.
Yeah.
Floribundas, you're doing the opposite, where you're taking the middle bud out,
Yeah.
and you can just walk around doing that. It's you just pick them off as you go, as you're looking at stuff.
And that must take a huge amount of time with 1,000 bushes. This is not a little amount of time this is taking. This is a big commitment.
No, when you sort of get into how long you have to spend down there, it's kind of it's a lot of time. Showing's even crazier. When I talk to you about a showing week, it'll blow your mind because that's off the scale.
Well, I'm assuming it's a little bit like Rose review season because again, my other half knows that I don't get any time whatsoever. I reviewed 90 roses last year. I'm reviewing 100 this year.
Yeah,
For me to review a rose, they're in the ground here or in a pot here for a year,
yes,
6 months to a year before I actually open my mouth about new varieties. I will do a first impressions a year after it's released, before I then release, because that's just the way I operate. So yeah, I fully accept there's a massive amount of time gone. So your wife must be very understanding when it comes to show season. Does she come with you, or are you doing this
yeah, she
solo?
does. Yeah. My wife does 4 major things,
Hmm.
and which is covering the blooms. But I'll get back to that.
Yeah.
She puts plastic bags on the blooms when we load the van up.
Okay.
She drives the van, so she drives me to 90% of the shows we go to,
Yeah.
unless there's a reason we don't. And also, she clears my mess up at the end of a show because we're staging all night, and in the end, it can be quite fraught. And I turn around, and my wife's come in, cleaned all the stuff up. The day-to-day growing and staging and thing she doesn't get involved in, and that
Hmm.
suits us both.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, again, without the support, you need the support of your family. Any exhibitor needs to support their family
Yeah.
because it's a selfish thing to do. It is a selfish sport,
Yeah.
and you need. And by God, my wife knows what a good flower is.
Okay. Okay.
So she's putting the bags on. I said, "Did you like any of them, darling?" And she'll go, "Yeah, they weren't bad. You got a few nice ones in there." If she tells you, Ben, that they're skank, you're in trouble. But
Well, you
but
obviously know.
but
You obviously, if she says that, you know you're in for a kicking from the
you know
judges,
you're in
don't
for
you?
a kicking. Yeah.
Or
Sadly, yeah,
or you shouldn't be
yeah,
showing it.
yeah. We've got a camper van we go around in. Sadly, early on last year, we lost our dog, and that made a big hole in last season because the 3 of us would go shooting together, and So it took a bit of gloss off last year, but so my wife comes everywhere. Back to when disbudding. Obviously, after disbudding, we go on a bit. The blooms swell. Now, roughly a hybrid tea showing colour in a bud is a week away from a show.
Yes.
So on Thursday nights, and I actually timing sort of seems to come to hand. Thursday nights for a show, my wife and I, her name's Paula. Sorry, I should have said. We put covers on, which is pint glasses, 2 pegs and a wire, and they get pegged to the stem.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to keep the bloom from getting damaged from rain and dew and other things,
scorching and everything else.
Scorch. Well, I mean, it does have the red ones scorch, but it does. You don't do as well if you don't keep your blooms clean, and it's a vital piece of getting to the show bench, really.
Mm-hmm.
That's Thursday night. On Sunday, I cover the mini floras, because a mini flora basically, and you'll know better, is a 2-inch bloom basically. The hybrid tea's 4 to 5 inches, maybe a bit more.
Yeah.
So they take a little bit less time to develop. Monday night, I pick floribundas. I'm going to do something a bit radical there. I fill up some buckets of water from a lady in the village, because we've no water on the allotment. Dib a bleach in it to stop the cambium layer blocking up.
Okay.
Not too mad, but just the 1, 2, 3 splash sort of scenario. I'm a bit of a chicken feeder than a scientific grower. And then I pick floribundas that are showing colour. I take all the blooms off and the green buds off. I put them in the water, and then I've got a bunker that I've built around the back of the fridge that I've got, and they go in there, Monday nights and Tuesday nights. I'll put a barrel up against the front, and then they're left in there until I pull them out for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday's a bit of a down day, but I'm still going to be picking miniatures, and we pick miniatures all week because they last in the fridge. And then on Thursday we do covering again for the next week while I start picking.
Yeah.
And then on Friday morning I go down. I generally will start on the hybrid teas, but they want cotton woolen, so opening the bloom out to get the required shape and size that you're after.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically the perfect bloom doesn't exist. You're half a day behind that, and you're trying to make it into something that's going to look better.
Yes.
And I will probably on a big cut be cotton woolen from 8 o'clock till about 1:30 or 2.
Yeah.
And if it's a nice warm day, your blooms are still developing. So I'm picking as I go still. I might pick another 30 or 40 on Friday morning, maybe even 50. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
And then everything's kept in the fridge. Now, the fridge is more of a holding container than it is anything else. The floribundas go black. The stamens go black in the fridge, is why I don't put floribundas in the fridge. So you're looking for fresh stamens with the floribundas, and just clean blooms with the hybrid teas. No splits, no weather damage, or no faults, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Nice long stems. And then they get put into. I sort through them into milk crates. I will have a rough idea of where I'm going to put them in what class by what I'm doing subconsciously, because of it's a numbers game, I suppose. If I've got 15 Wainwright rows, I know there's a fairly good chance I'm going to get a bowl of 12 out of those.
Yes, yeah.
But if I've got 6, then they might have to be in a vase of 3. So sort of works like that. And then I probably finish preparing about, because there's sort of open blooms and all other bits and bobs and schedule. I'll probably finish that about 4:30. I'll nip home, have a bath, maybe something to eat, or Paula's made rolls. And then we're looking to leave the allotment roughly about 6:30 to a show.
Mm-hmm. Neil, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, sorry,
So,
you dropped out. You dropped out for it. So you said about
all right.
6:30. 6:30, you were off to the show.
Yeah, about half, unless it's boiling hot, and then it might be a little bit later.
Yeah.
But because we travel, to Yorkshire, etc., there's a fine line of missing the traffic early and getting stuck in the roadworks that are coming out after 9 o'clock. So
Oh,
that
this whole process is giving me anxiety sweats. So I'm, I, I find it difficult enough to get. I mean, I say when I'm dealing with 100 roses in a season to review. I mean, sometimes they come at you thick and fast. You think, okay, I've got 8 to do in one weekend. This is a lot, and you've got blooms opening. You think, oh, I've got to have a collection of bud, and I've got to have a collection. I mean, you're looking for perfect flowers, and I'm looking for a whole kaleidoscope of everything to share everything at once. But
well,
this conversation is making me sweat.
I'm sure the problem is you set it up for social media. It's quite taxing, isn't it? I mean, I don't do it. I don't do any editing in my videos, Ben.
Then nor do I.
I
No, mine are all
bumble
mine.
along and stick it on there, and
Yeah.
you either can take it or leave it, sort of thing. But
No, mine are all
yeah,
natural and in real time. I don't do any
yeah.
post production whatsoever.
Because I mean, it's time consuming, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
But I've got a system and a thing, and it is very draining. But it's just how it is. And when I first started, there was more bigger growers than there are now. To be at their level, that's what you had to do, and
Yeah.
that's what I aspired to be like. So that this is where we are.
And
With it.
how many shows do you aim to do a year? I mean, obviously you said last year there was, because of the loss of your dog, it kind of slowed you down a little bit. But how many shows would you normally do on an annual basis?
We're normally doing 16.
Goodness me.
We lost Shrewsbury show. There's one of the northern shows used to have 2 shows a year, and they dropped one for financial difficulties. But normally there's 4 Rose Society UK shows. There is I go to Taunton, I go to Southport, I go to Rydale show. There's Royal Welsh. There's another show in Wales. There's 2 more shows in Wales. There's Ronda Rose Society show. I do Daily and National as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, quite a varied. And what it is it's brilliant because we might start off in the Ronda and you'll meet the Welsh growers, and then we'll go to Shepperton where the national show is, and then we go up to Rydale and you meet the northern growers, and it's very social, and things have changed. It's not as picky and as old school sort of grumpiness as it used to be. I mean, I think back in the day, I think you still have to sort of prove yourself a little bit. It's like any environment you go into as a young grower, it's very intimidating, and it still is. I mean, if you turn up at a show and I've got 5 plates of hybrid teas and 10 buckets of floribundas, and I'm covering half the show marquee, it's quite intimidating.
Yeah.
But the stigma of that environment, I think, is much less and less than it used to be.
Oh, good.
It still was a bit when I started. I mean, you had to prove yourself, but I want it. But again, it's a choice, isn't it? Because if you want to stick it to them a little bit, you've got to go through with it.
Yeah.
And so that's the plan. Yeah. So
okay, so you mentioned all the bits and pieces. Are any greenhouses at play here? Because I mean, do you take anything in, or are you keeping your smaller plants in a greenhouse, or is it literally you just picking what's available when it's available?
I've got 2 greenhouses now. There's the spring show, which used to be at Malvern, but it's moved. That is, I think it's around the 14th of May.
Yeah, so it's very early for roses.
It's quite early. So I've got, I'd say, 60 to 80 pots in the greenhouse. They've been growing since before Christmas.
Yeah. So you bring them in just before Christmas to start them a little bit.
They stay in the greenhouse. They don't come out.
Okay.
So they've been in. Let's say that I'll say December the 1st, but I think it was slightly earlier than that. They've been in since December the 1st. I'll I've got a unique way of covering my greenhouse. I'll just tell you quick. I wrap a fleece around the outside and flick one over the top when it's going to freeze.
Yeah.
Anything 4 degrees and under, I do that. And then I just peg the cloth down to the outside of the greenhouse.
Hmm.
Because obviously in the summer when it gets really hot, I whack 2 panes of glass out the back and leave
Okay.
the door open to get the
Yeah.
airflow movement.
Hmm.
And if I bubble wrapped it all, the bushes hooking up and, sadly roses grow with thorns, don't they? Which is the biggest downfall probably. But I've got, like I say, probably 70 on 80. I can't remember. Anyway, they're growing away quite well. They're about 5-6 inches high now. Some of them got buds on.
Hmm.
And I've got a greenhouse down the allotment, which I won't put the roses in there until much nearer the first show, the first main show in June, the summer show we'll call it. And they'll go in there. And then I've got 2 raised beds, which I do put covers on, sheets on the top.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, there's all manner of things going on really.
All manner of techniques to go on. I mean, if you don't mind as well, another question I get asked an awful lot is, again, because I'm coming across lots of different types of forms of roses that by different breeders, and they've all got their telltale breeding characteristics. The more I do, the more I lean towards, okay, I can recognise that as a Harkness rose. I recognise that as a Peter Beals. That's very classical, a David Austin, or that's a Perkins rose. You get to know the breeder's characteristics. But for yourself, what are you looking for in a rose? What kind of bloom is appealing to you?
Well, realistically, the breeder is irrelevant to me. Makes no difference whatsoever.
Are you drawn to a particular colour?
I'm drawn to whatever I can get a red card, whatever I can win with.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. Hybrid teas have to be, nice shape, colour. I mean, I grow all manner of colours. I think hybrid teas now tend to be. They don't have the high pointed centre. They don't make the shape. Some of the older varieties. I mean, we grow Red Devil. I mean, it was around since 1960.
Yeah.
And still one of the top show roses. So I'm looking for something along those lines.
Yeah.
Nice stems, lovely foliage is great. Not overly essential, but great. Floribundas, I like the single blooms more because they open in the shed easier. Fresh stamens, big head. I do grow a couple of climbers and show them as floribundas, and I do grow the odd shrub and show it as a floribunda. So there's that. No, I mean, you wouldn't put Shetland pony in the Grand National, and so there are classes in the schedules for everything. I've got a couple of Austin roses only, and if I can show them, I will. And I've got an old garden rose that I show occasionally. So predominantly, if it will fit the criteria on the show bench,
you'll grow it.
Use it. I'll grow it.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do stick to the communal varieties that have been around or tried and tested as such, because that's the purpose of what I'm doing it for.
Yeah, quite.
I mean, I could grow a row of a bed of something that I never show. Well, that's 2 hours of my time a week wasted. I could put something in there that I could show. So it's kind of like that. Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned just a second ago about getting fairly decent stems. Again, it's something that I get asked an awful lot because people want to know which varieties are good for showing for cutting. And just because they have a strong and upright stem doesn't often make them perfect for cutting, because I mean they might stand up in a vase, but they don't last very long. Would you be able to share with us maybe 5 of your favourites?
Well, this is the interesting thing. The show varieties generally will stand up because, they've got to last 2 or 3 days on the bench.
Yeah.
They may have been picked on a Thursday, and the shows last till Sundays. My personal favourite rose, which most people won't know, is a rose called Sunderland Supreme, which is a hybrid tea. It's a creamy sort of coloured bloom with a pink edge.
Yeah.
and just fall in love with it every time
So
I see it.
I would say similar to help me visualize that, something along the line of Double Delight.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it just blows my mind every time I see it. But again, it isn't necessarily sort of the greatest growing rose in the world. If you were for cutting, really, something like there's a rose called Hot Princess.
Hmm.
RV Rogers sell it. That's a wonderful rose for vase life. A tall, dark pink. I think it's German, but I think it was actually for because it's got that look about a florist rose.
Hmm.
But it does make into a decent show bloom as well. Back to your original question, the top 4 or 5 really is Red Devil,
Yeah.
and probably most people who have got into roses, even Bill, when I first started, said, "Oh, make sure you grow Red Devil because that's still," and it still is. There's Andrea Seltzer, which is a tall pink rose. That's a floristy rose. Joneses sell it, and Rogers do as well. Wainwright Rose, which Friars Rose, become very popular. I've got one at home in a tub. I would say it's probably rooted into the ground. That's probably got 19 blooms on it in a flush.
Yeah.
Amazing thing. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah.
Healthy until it mildews. First flush comes, it wants to mildew after first flush, but again, you take the rough with the smooth with some of them.
Gets itself a bit stressed and puts too much energy into the first one and
yeah.
can't. Yeah.
It's a hard thing, aren't they? Because first flush is always so good, and then that people don't give them the people are very hard on, but actually that bush has got to produce the whole thing again in the season,
Yeah.
maybe even 3 times.
Got to grow 2 or 3 times. Yeah.
So and Silver Anniversary is still really popular in the white colours.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, quite healthy, chucks nice blooms, good for a novice grower. And then there are numerous other ones. There's a thing called Anis Perfumella. I think its original name was Bonica Minucci, which is a bicoloured red and silver reverse bloom. That's a really nice hybrid tea. Bit more globular.
Mm-hmm.
They do come in various shapes, and the Austin catalogue is very strong on shapes and colours, isn't it? And scent and etc. And the hybrid teas, they do come in various forms of shapes.
Yeah, and over the last 2 years, I've been more involved with a lot more of the hybrid teas and the more of the floribundas, pulling away from the English roses grown by Austin, and it's been a real eye opener for me to get in front of some of the old, as you mentioned earlier, the older tried and tested varieties, and actually go through some of those, and it's really diversified my collection. I mean, my collection. I mean, I'm growing just over 300 varieties here, but I'm only growing them sort of 1s and 2s, and I'm now at the stage where I'm having to wheedle out ones that I'm not quite so keen on to make way for new ones that I can actually sort of squeeze. And we've probably got about 15 months ahead left in this house before I have to move, and we won't be able to stay here because the plot simply isn't big enough. So we'll have to we'll have to go somewhere else because
the trouble we've all had. I mean,
yeah.
I remember telling one of the old boys in allotment I'd never get to the top of that bit. I'm on the top of that bit, got 5 bits over the other side. So it's an addiction, isn't it? Sadly.
I'd like to go back to something you mentioned a little bit earlier, which was a bit of a clanger. You said you've got no water on your allotment. How are you coping with that? That must be very challenging.
Well, they put it in this winter.
Okay.
They put water butts in.
Yeah.
And so you can only use a can anyway. So
Yeah.
I would probably, to be honest with you, Hampshire didn't make any difference because we hosepipe banned. There is a lady who my allotment runs up round the back of some houses, and I must mention there's a fabulous woman called Jenny Hopkins who lets me run my fridge off her electric, and she lets me run my water when I need it.
Yeah.
Hose up from our house, and so either I take it down. Obviously, I collect water like everybody does, and she lets me run the hose. But I've gone off watering a little bit. I think when it reaches 30 I mean, the summer, I think we hit 36 by the end.
Yeah.
Roses shut down. They're bumbling along, aren't they? They're existing. The blooms are burning off the top. I could put up buckets of water under them. I don't know, other than just keep them ticking along, it's going to make any difference. I'm not going to, the bloom isn't going to suddenly, pop back to life because it's still cooking from the top.
Yeah.
And then I also think, I don't really know, I haven't ever tested the water, so I don't know what's in it, which I think is a massive thing that if you're going to get scientific into rose growing, you should do, test whatever your water is, because you don't know the pH and the other elements that are pumping through your, thing. So I have slowed down on the watering side of things. I actually used all my water last year, keeping my dahlias alive.
Well, again, they simply won't grow without it, will they? They'll be little stumpy things. Otherwise, they will literally refuse to do anything.
Yeah, and we couldn't have that. Yeah. I mean, I'm a heavy mulcher, like we said. So, and I think sometimes you just have to let nature. You can't beat it, can you? So
No. Well, you can't. You can't.
just,
No, you're quite right there.
I mean,
You can't fight it.
I had to take what blooms were given to me, but that dry spell through the summer, I just had to. I thought last year they lacked a bit of basal growth because it was too dry through the summer.
Yeah.
They've got a huge amount of basal growth now, and if they get frosted now, that's probably going to really struggle.
Mm-hmm.
But they did struggle through last summer, and they struggled. I think we had one other year that was really bad, where there was no grass left. It looked like a cricket pitch down there, but they've got to sink or swim a little bit. They seem to do all right.
Yeah, and you mentioned you were deep mulching, and that's basically manure that you're using there, or are you using any? Are you
At the
rotating
minute,
your way
it's
through
cow
anything?
manure.
Yeah.
It's cow manure. But what I tend to do is I keep it so I'll have it for a year myself. And I like to see it with a bit of something in. I like to see the worms in it when I'm moving it. I like to see the life still in it.
Oh yes,
you get a bag from the garden centre. It's just brown stuff, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing really happening. Whereas I know when I crack my muck heap open, the worms would be blood red. It's a Robin's Delight sort of thing because there's worms everywhere and there's things going on in it. So the beds are. I think when I had surplus amounts of manure, the beds were taking 5 barrows, but I've gone down to about 3.5.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I think I try and say to people, because I'm a massive mulching pusher, I suppose you could call me, because people say, "What's your feeding regime?" They always want to know what my feeding regime is. How do you get your blooms so big? How do you get your roses so perfect? It's like you can do whatever you want with them, as long as if you mulch them, you can pretty much guarantee you're going to get everything you need. And if you feed your soil, you're going to feed your plant, and the plant's going to it's going to grow away healthy. It's going to be healthy, and it's going to produce lots of flowers. It's going to be able to rebuff the drought, and it's going to be able to drain and not get waterlogged during the winter. I mean, I'm sat here now. I mean, I started on done 2 cubic meters of soil conditioner last week. I've got 4 cubic meters of wood chip on the drive at the moment, which I started shoveling earlier. I say to people, the more organic matter you can add to your soil, the better. And you can pare it back a little bit once you've done that initial 2 or 3 years of really deep mulching and your soil turns it. Because again, I dig on camera without editing, and people say, "Well, Ben, your soil's like butter." It's like, well, it wasn't when I moved here. It was heavy and it was hard. But chucking loads and loads of organic matter on it for 8 years solid. Now, I put a spade into it, and it does cut like butter.
Yeah.
But people seem to think mulching is hard work, and mulching, I don't believe, is hard work. It's one of the easiest and basic things you can do. I mean, you can you can check liquid feeds and pelleted feeds at it all you like. It's not gonna do the job as far as I'm concerned. It's
I think when you grow numbers, it's all relative, isn't it? I mean, growing numbers like I do, hand watering or foliar or like for watering, feeding, it becomes too big a job. It becomes too time consuming. You need to simplify certain jobs down. And I do granular feed, but I only granular feed some nitrogen, and then I'll mulch over the top. So I'm pumping them a little bit more than you need to, again, but I'm looking for a crop. And so you sometimes you're pushing them to the limit, sort of thing. But again, I cut so hard off them. A 3 foot bush, I'm taking that stem. I'm taking 2.5 foot of that stem down when I
Just,
want it.
you're basically winter pruning it during the summer. You're knuckling it right back.
Well, pruning is pure terminology, isn't it? Sadly, I think the rose trade over the last 50 years has made everything so complicated for growers. Deadheading, pruning, they're all the same.
Yeah.
Knocking it back down to stop the winter rot, it's pruning. They're all methods of pruning, but different terminology.
Yeah.
And sadly, when people want to just grow a rose, go out in the garden, they're very unsure of what to do where and why. But roses love to be pruned.
Yeah,
Generally.
I think one of the biggest pitfalls, which I think I've become fairly well known for, is to tell people to, one, give it a go, and secondly, it's your garden, it's your rules. I'm here to
Yeah,
give you
do what you want.
I'm here to give you some advice and give you some framework to work within. But at the end of the day, give it a go. If it doesn't work, next year give it another go. There's very, very rare occurrences you're going to prune something incorrectly and you're going to kill it.
Yes.
But people, the internet is a wonderful place, but it's also a terrible place full of terrible loads of awful information. And people like to sort of get hold of something and run with it and turn it into, as you said, this complicated, elaborate type of thing. And it's like, well, actually, no. The biggest advice I can give you is go out and give it a go. Keep your secateurs clean and sharp, give it a go, and we'll go from there. The
Yep.
plant will still flower, whether you've cut it to 6 inches, whether you've cut it to 2.5 feet, whatever you've done with it. It's likely 90% of the time it's going to flower and it's going to look beautiful. So yeah, just give it a good go.
The only thing with pruning a little bit harder, perhaps, is you're promoting more basal growth.
Yes.
And really, when you're growing a rose for a long period of time, my original silver anniversaries, I've had them over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
The original stems don't exist. They were gone in the echelons of time, weren't they? It's basal growth and new stems and fresh stems and clean stems, and they're coming up, keeping the plant healthier and keeping the rose growing and keeping it fresh. And I think that's the key to the longevity of certain varieties. Certain varieties genetically are breaking down a lot quicker than that. But pruning is the key, isn't it? To one of the main things. But you're right on the keep your secateurs sharp. I'm not an advocate for one or the other. I prune it how I see it. I prune quite hard. When I want to prune a little bit softer, say I've got a bit of frosty wood, that feel sends me down through my hands, and I go, no, you'll have to come down here, and I want to. And then when I feel that harder wood through my hands, that's where I'm happy. I tend to do prune to an outward facing bud, and I do like a nice cut. Doesn't have to be like madly sloped one or the other or whatever else, whatever. But I tend to prune that quite a repeated sort of angle of how I hold the secateurs.
Yeah.
Again, that's just me.
When I'm doing my pruning tutorials, I quite often say to people that actually, you'll see my elbow go up and down like I'm doing the chicken dance. And as I move around the plant, it'll be coming up and down because naturally you'll find that bud, and sometimes you need your secateurs up, sometimes they need to come down, and that's just something that over a period of time. And I say to people to mantra the way they're pruning through to keep repeating it in their head as they move through the task, and over a period of time it just becomes second nature. Would you mind? You touched a second ago on you apply a spray or two. Would you mind sort of touching on that quickly for us?
Well, two of my biggest problems through a showing year would be spider mite, massive problem.
Yeah.
And I think is a serious issue throughout gardening, not just certainly greenhouse gardening.
Our summers are getting so much drier, and they love that warm, dry air, don't
love
they?
It.
Yeah.
So just a different thing. My stepson, they had a plant, the only plant in the entire garden and house on the windowsill from Tesco's, and I haven't seen spider mite like it in my life. In fact, put it in the bin straight away as all I walked in. I didn't want to take any home with me.
No.
And the so spider mite's a massive problem, and if spider mite gets into your bushes, again, and you have to realise I'm growing as a crop in theory, or for a purpose, not just for them to look nice. So difficult to slow spider mite down when your bushes are, full growth, full leaf on.
Yeah.
And I was actually planting out my dahlias, and I was dipping them in the insecticide and fungicide. Just for the viewer, I've got a full spraying license and done all the courses, etc., etc. So, because prevention is better than cure. And then I was thinking to myself, hang on, if the spider mite started to get active on my beds, where anywhere from 13 degrees, which we've had some days of, why am I not pruning these down, putting a spray over them straight away?
Mm-hmm.
Reducing the early breeding, which means I spray less through the summer, because I've actually slowed down the reproductive cycle of the insect that basically stops my bushes producing flowers.
Well, and may I ask what you're using to control spider mite?
I've got two products. I put an Apollo. It's Apollo something. It's a purple spray. You put one of those on. It's for apples.
Yeah.
And then there's Killer Mite. Generally, and actually you can buy that off eBay. So it is a staggering thing. But yeah. I mean, they talk about the Americans go along misting the base of your plant in Great Britain. I mean, could you imagine doing that? I mean, then you're going to get black spot, and then everything's going to defoliate, and it's so it's a tricky one really. Thrip's bad, so I'll spray for thrip again. Killer Mite does thrip. The problem is while you're spraying A to B, aren't you? Because thrip attack your blooms, spider mite attack the foliage. So there's that, and I don't get much black spot. But rust has been very bad the last two seasons.
Without offence, I don't think suppose your roses have got foliage and flowers on them long enough to get black spot, have they? I mean, as soon as they come up and get themselves all sort of all nice and close together, you're coming along with a pair of shears and that.
Yeah, well, I probably. I mean, the last 2 years I've deadheaded. I used to say I deadhead onto the show bench. And the last 2 years I've had to deadhead into a ton bag, and it's been quite depressing. So, well, when Gardener's Well came last year, all I could think about was, and they were probably 2 weeks. They came 2 weeks later than I would have liked. But these things need to go when it suits everybody. And all I wanted to do was start deadheading, because they were falling on the floor. I'm quite thing about tidying up leaves and keeping the beds tidy, mowing the grass and that sort of thing. But I don't let things drop on the beds. And I've even defoliated at the end of the season, November. I've gone down and picked all the leaves off.
Yeah, again, something I
stripped the whole lot off.
Something I strongly advise people to do when normally for me I advise them when they do their pruning cycle. It's like, okay, whenever you prune, whether it's February, March, or into the beginning of April, remove all of the foliage from last year. Otherwise, I mean, all you're doing is perpetually, recycling it back into it. It needs to be removed and either incinerated or taken away. Don't let it fall to the floor, especially they said, well, you say leave organic matter on the bed. Yeah, leave organic matter on the bed, but not rose foliage, because it's going to be covered in pathogens that you really don't want in it.
No. They do they'll get a fungicide spray at some point, depending on sort of what's happening, really.
And that's a preventative spray you're doing with that as well, or is that's reactive? Is that
generally and both really? Generally, you're trying to, but for all the world wants to tell you, roses have disease like we do, and like every animal does, and every plant does. We'd love not to, wouldn't we? We'd love it all to be easy, but sadly, in the game I'm in, I'm looking for something a little bit more. I think it was easier when I didn't grow as many. If I grew 100 bushes, I'd probably spray very rarely, because you can control the environment easier. But when you're up to as many as I've got, it's tricky.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then there are other things. I mean, obviously I'm on a public allotment, so I've got to wait till the wind is right. I've got to get down there at 6 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock at night. It's not fun either.
No, no,
And then
quite.
again, it's mask and gloves, and all you can say, like you said, is tell people what you do, but you do it right. So you got to go down doing it the right way. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Lovely. I mean, you mentioned earlier that you felt the show scene is a little less stuffy and are now a little more welcoming than it used to be, for instance, when you started. Could you just to wrap up the conversation today? Could you maybe, because again, people will ask, they always do, and there's one or two people that I know that have broken into doing a little bit of showing with local flower shows and local festivals.
Well,
What advice can you give to people that are just starting out and looking to do a few bits and pieces?
the trouble with local flower shows is, and thankfully when I started showing with Bill, we went to Shrewsbury and we went to Taunton, and we did kind of bigger shows. There's not a lot around Hampshire, I don't think.
Hmm.
The main thing is don't be feared of anyone. Go there with the idea of, if you want to do it, enjoy it and get
Yeah.
involved. There
Hmm.
are people who are the kings of their area, and
Yeah.
they want to stay there. And I think you'll always get a bit of hostility there. But you certainly don't anymore. The Rose Society UK shows, you don't. The Welsh show I go to, you certainly don't. They're welcoming members because showing is dying out.
Hmm.
And so they want new people. Maybe the problem is when you get there and you're new, they want to grab hold of you. And that's quite fearful, more than the other way around now.
Yes. Yeah.
So, take your time, watch what people are doing, learn to enjoy it, learn to see it for what it is. It's healthy, good fun, and it's a way of taking something that you've grown and taking it on from that and enjoying it. What I would say is, when people say to me, why do you show? And I say, well, in life, generally, you're told you're let to be good at something, or you're told you're good at something. This is a thing I control. I
Hmm.
know I control how good I am at it. I've won 12 national championships now, and I control that by my effort, my desire, where I grow, what I'm growing, etc., etc. So I control that. I don't have somebody saying to me, "Oh, oh, not this job, Neil. No, you're not. That's not good enough, or that's one over the other." There's that I get out of it as much as I put into it.
Yeah.
What I would say about growing roses, trust your eyes. That's my
Yeah.
golden tip. Trust your
Yeah.
eyes, because the experts can say, "Oh, that doesn't get black spot, or that doesn't get spider mite, or that isn't spider mite, or that's not thrip." If it is what you're seeing, it can.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit like that. But showing, get involved, talk to people, get schedules. The problem is I'll miss 8 nights sleep a year, Ben, at a show, because quite often we stage through the night.
Yeah.
So the next day can be a little bit of a minefield. But Facebook and Instagram has opened it up, and like you, I get loads of people asking me what varieties, where to go to,
Little bits of.
but we need to keep this going, because showing will die out. I think in my lifetime, definitely. Maybe not veg showing, and maybe not dahlia growing.
Yeah.
But gladioli, carnations, all these great flowers are struggling.
Okay.
Chrysanthemums. I mean, you had a talk with someone on chrysanthemums. I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah.
But
Had the National Chrysanthemums, Neil, from from the National Chrysanthemum Society
I
on,
mean,
and
their average age is what, 100 probably.
I don't know. He did mention the average age
That
was
was a
quite
question
high,
you should
but
have
yeah,
asked.
yeah.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah,
he'd been growing literally his entire life. He had lived and
yeah,
breathed chrysanthemum, and the
yeah,
passion. Again, I would say to people all the time, it doesn't matter what you choose. whatever you choose, make sure that it really ignites your passion. If it makes your heart sing, if it brings joy to you, if it puts a smile on your face, you know you're doing the right thing. You know you're in the right place, and then you can go from there. And I say with
Yeah.
me, with roses, it started a long, long time ago with me. And yeah, I know, and I'll say to people, and I say I mentioned earlier that when I'm doing a review, I will be in real time. Nothing's edited, and you can tell from the tone of my voice and the look
Mm.
on my face whether I'm going to like something or not. And I'll use words that may
Yeah, well, you have to be tactful, don't you?
I'll use words to describe a plant and its growth habit that might not be down to my personal taste, but will appeal to other people. But the
Mm.
ones that really appeal to me, you can really get the gist of what I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about, because I'll be
yeah.
beaming from ear to ear. So, Neil,
I
it's
do
been.
think. Oh, can
Sorry,
I
go.
just say, Ben? I think
Yeah, yeah,
that
of course.
people do need to get behind the societies more.
Huh?
Even the rose societies, dahlia societies, all plant growing societies are generally volunteer based, and they run all the shows, and the horticultural trade and the RHS and everybody don't take enough or give them enough support, and I think that's a shame, because there's a wealth of, like you say, great growers who've got worlds of experience, who live and breathe it every day, and I think they need a little bit more limelight.
Okay. Neil, how can
There we
everybody
go.
find yourself? What's
Uh,
your username on Instagram?
I'm on Neil Duncan Rose King.
Yeah.
Was it Neil Duncan 40 Rose King? I can't remember. Anyway, my stepson set that up. It's a bit pretentious, isn't it, to call yourself a Rose King? But it is
Not at
what
all.
it is.
You got 12 championship titles under
Exactly.
your belt. So
I've
get
got to beat Tony Bracegirdle, 117. So, but
that's the goal, is it?
that's the goal.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm on there. I post regularly on the Rose Society Facebook page, and some of the other Facebook pages. So, but that's if you want to look me up, then yeah, that's the place to come.
Wonderful, Neil. Thank you so much. Though I mean, you and
Thank
I
you, Ben.
think we could talk for a long, long time, and I think
Oh, that's it.
we
That's
might
it.
need to
Well,
revisit
maybe
this
you should
conversation.
come round.
Well, I think I should. I mean,
Yeah,
I think we got an awful lot more ground to cover than we can cover in this particular episode. But thank you so much for being so generous with your time. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
lovely.
Good luck with show season this year,
Thank you very much.
and
Thank you.
I'll talk to you very soon. Take good care now.
Cheers, Ben. Take
Bye
care. Bye
bye.
bye. Bye bye, everyone.
I really enjoyed my conversation with Neil, and I must make my way over to have a look at his amazing allotment just as soon as I get the time. I want to wish Neil all the best for show season, as I know he's already heading out on the road very soon to exhibit his beautiful blooms with his wife. And if you're in the UK and you want to get involved in exhibiting your rose blooms, make sure that you head over to the Rose Society UK website and take a look at all of the places that you could attend and have a look this coming season. And as Neil said, please make sure that you just get involved and have a go, because you might be pleasantly surprised. Everything is now heading rapidly towards the RHS Chelsea Flower Show, which takes place just next week. And ahead of that, I've had a beautiful conversation which I'm going to be sharing with you next week with Gwen Hines, who is the CEO of Plant Heritage. Plant Heritage, for the very first time, are actually going to be debuting a garden at the Chelsea Flower Show and do some amazing work behind the scenes protecting our plants here in the UK, holding the records for all of our very, very precious national collections. Gwen and Plant Heritage are keen to get as many people involved with the national collections as at all possible to make sure that we're safeguarding these beautiful plants for generations to come. So if you have a specific talent, a large collection, or just a real passion for plants, please do tune in next week and listen to the conversation I had with Gwen. In other news, I also had the pleasure in announcing this week on all of my social media channels that for the very first time I will be producing the very first Gardener Ben calendar for 2027. Pre-orders are now taking place, so if you'd like to get hold of a calendar, please do send me a message on one of my platforms so I can send you the details so you can pay your deposit. The calendar will be a large formatted calendar, around 40 centimetres in length and around 30 centimetres in width. Each month containing a beautiful photographic image and a nice grid for you to be able to write your important dates on. There will be also something very, very special squeezed into the month of May that you may not be expecting. So do, if you want to get hold of a calendar, send me a message on any one of my social media platforms now. The Gardener Ben podcast is proudly brought to you in association with Peterbilt's Roses, winner of 30 Chelsea Gold medals and creating timeless roses since 1968. Go online and shop at www.peterbiltsroses.com and make sure that you're following along on Instagram and TikTok. Until next week.